Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Sprint brought to you live from Nile International Studios. And my name is Shifil Touni, and today we'll be having a lot of events to be covered throughout this edition, starting with the Olympics youth in Singapore 2010. And we're having a coverage for that and report for that, and also the results, Egypt's results in this Olympics. During the edition also we'll be covering the latest from the African Champions League and the coming match for Ismaili against Heartland of Nigeria, and also Ahli's match with Algeria's Shabab Qaba'il. And also throughout the edition we'll be covering the latest rankings and results for the Egyptian Premier League and the latest moves and status for a lot of players like Ahmed Fathi, Ahmed Mit'ab, Shikabala. Will be finding out the latest news regarding their moves to professional play in clubs abroad. Now I'd like to introduce my guest for tonight. With me is sports journalist Marwan Noor. Hello and welcome to the show, sir.
Hello.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you today. We have a lot of topics to be discussed throughout this edition, and I believe let's start first with the Olympics youth, Singapore's 2010 Olympics, and I guess there were some good results. If you can share with us just basically what happened during this Olympics.
Yes, many people actually weren't aware of the tournament. It's been overshadowed by the transfers, the league, the Giddu issue, as you may know. But Egypt have had good results there. We've had 6 medals there, 2 gold medals, including a handball gold medal, which is the first ever team medal for Egypt at any kind of Olympics, as well as an archery medal. It's the first Arabic medal in this field. The gold medal, as well as 2 silvers and 2 bronzes.
So definitely we'll be needing more analysis from you regarding each of these results. But now, right, we seem that the line was... thank you very much, Basil, for your input. Basil Sabri, our correspondent in Singapore, reporting for the Olympics Youth Singapore 2010. Back to you, Marwan. And is this a good indication that Egypt might do something in the coming Olympics, having these medals, like you mentioned, 2 gold medals? One of them is in the archery and the other one in handball.
It gives a good indication, but to be honest, it's not the biggest of indications. I mean, this is a tournament for players who are girls and boys from 14 to 18-year-old, which is not an age that can give the biggest of indications. And for example, the United States, who are always on the top of the medals list in the usual Olympics, they have only got 4 gold medals. So you can say that this is not a big indication. I mean, the States scoring 4 gold medals is not surely an indication of what they will do in the future. Yes. They can score 4 gold medals in maybe 2 hours at the Olympics. So it's a good indication. It's good that we have girls scoring medals for the first time in the rhythmic gymnastics silver medal, which is it's a new dimension to our sporting presentation at the Olympics, let's say. For girls to score medals, and in new fields as well. The gymnastics, it's the first time. Archery, it's the first time. So it's a good indication, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
So another question here is about handball. So we've seen the performance of Egypt's handball team, the national team, is in decline for the past couple of years. Do you think having a gold medal, which is a great achievement in the Olympics, is it a sort of an indication that this team is trying to get back into form and style?
You are right. The game has gone down in the past few years, but I think this result can boost the game in Egypt. It can make everybody believe we can get back on track. We can go back to the top 4 or top 6 teams as we were 6, 7, 8 years ago. We need to work a lot. We need to take good care of this team. It's a good team. They've beaten France. They've beaten South Korea in the final by a 10-goal margin, which is, I think, this is the biggest ever margin in an Olympic final. It's a big margin.
Yes, sure.
So we need to take care of the team, and maybe it can help us in the future to get the handball team back on track.
So can you relate this results with the generation of handball, the youth team? Because usually this team is the team that's going to be competing in a couple of years from now on an international level, and will be some of the calibers of these players will be injected into the national team. So do you think this generation is a robust, good performing generation?
Yes, it is very good performing, but they need to start, the teams, the clubs need to start injecting, as you were saying, these players into the first teams. They need to have them regularly playing in the leagues. This will make them gain the required experience, have the required will to play in international tournaments, and then maybe they can merge with the big players and maybe start getting the results, as we were saying.
So, but looking at the like you mentioned, the new games, archery and rhythmic gymnastics. So, do you believe there is some sort of preparations in clubs and as a sport here in Egypt that is making this sport in a rise?
Yes, we have been used to Egyptian. Egypt has now 24 Olympic medals throughout its history. Most of these medals have come in wrestling, weightlifting, boxing. These have always been the fields where Egypt have been able to gain the medals at the Olympics. But this time, as I told you, new sports, it helps these sports as well. Now, if you see an archery player getting a gold medal, you will see youth starting this game, starting to learn about it, starting to play it maybe. And this will help these sports in Egypt. So it will not only be about those 3 or 4 sports that have been helping Egypt into Olympic medals.
Perfect. And having this results of 7 medals, we mentioned 2 gold and 3 silver and two bronze, like Basil was reporting a while ago. In comparison with the Arab countries, do you think this is a good performance?
Yes, it is a very good performance. I mean, I have seen the list. Morocco have had only 1 or 2 gold medals, and the other Arabic representatives have not been at the best showing, let's say. It's only Kenya, even for the Africans, that have had a better showing than Egypt. So Egypt can be rated 2nd amongst Africans and top amongst Arabs. So these are good results. But as I told you, this is only the start. We can't rely on this and say we will get gold medals in the Olympics in 2016, for example. No, this is not how it works. They need a lot of work. They need to merge into their teams for the handball team, for example, and other sports. They need to get a lot of experience. This will help them to maybe give Egypt a chance.
So an important question, people would say, it's if Egypt doesn't achieve these 7 medals, then people would say it was a tough competition and Egypt is not performing that good in Olympics. But if the question now is having these 7 medals, was it the important competition for most of the athletes and for the countries? Is it taking the same importance and same focus like the Olympics?
To say the truth, no. Americans and Europeans usually know how to deal with youth. They don't put them under pressure at an early age. They don't put them in too many competitions and under tough mental strengths. They just make them feel it's a tournament. They need to gain experience. They need to share the game. While we in Egypt, we take it differently. We focus a lot on these players, the media, and their coaches as well. So we may get medals at this stage, and then at the later stages, which are the more important stages, we can fail to be at the right place or to get these medals as well. So we need to. This is a good start, as I'm saying, but we need to focus in the future and make sure that this is not the complete indication. We need to work a lot.
Yes, right. Thank you very much for your input on that. Let's move on now to football, and starting with the Egyptian Premier League. I guess now it's too early to judge what is happening in the Premier League, but let me tell you the results, and I get your also your opinion about that. We have Military Production in the first place with 9 points. So and Ismaili also coming in the second place with 9 points. These are the only 2 teams who've managed to win 3 consecutive wins, the 3 rounds, and gain 9 points. So I know it's a little bit early to have an indication on what will be going on, but what do you think of this result for both teams? Because it was not expected, at least for Ismaili.
Well, it was not. Nobody could have said this before the start for the 2 teams. Ismaili, as you were saying, they had problems with their players. They had to sell a lot of players. They were involved in the Champions League, African Champions League, which meant they had to play more matches, and they didn't have the players ready for the two tournaments or the two competitions. But they surprised everyone. They won in Petrojet, they beat MP, and they beat lately El Gona as well. So they have beaten good teams. Military production is again a big surprise when you consider they have lost their coach Tariq Yahya, who has been their inspiration last year. They also lost some of the big and the good players, Abu Kunait for Zamalek and Mohamed Abu Al-Aila also for MP. You would have thought that they would have fallen apart after these two losses. And their players, they don't have a star player. This is about military production. It's a very cohesive team. They play very good football, and they don't have a star player. And this is the thing about them. The star is the team. So it's a good start for them and for Ismaili. And time will show whether they can maintain and sustain this type of form throughout the league.
Yes, sure. So coming in the third place is MP with 6 points, and the fourth place is Police Union with 5 points. Then comes Ahli in the fifth place with 5 points again. This is a list that does not include Ahli in the first top places or Zamalek in the top
4 places even.
4 places even. So a lot of Ahli fans and Zamalek fans are getting worried about the season, and it seems to be a very exciting start for and a very let's say attractive start for the other teams. We can now see the list of the teams. Coming in the 7th place is Zamalek, 8th place Masri with 4 points. Haras Al Hudud coming in the 9th place, and the 10th place is Gona. El Geish in the 11th place, Wadi Degla comes then, Petrojet, Ittihad, Smuha, and finally Arab Contractors. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I think it's early to judge which teams, but I need to know from you, which are the teams that do you think are the black horses of the season, beside the top 3, Ismaili, Ahli, and Zamalek?
Well, the league now is very different to 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, for Ahli and Zamalek, you'd have said the top matches are Ismaili, maybe Haras Al Hudud, and that's it, and maybe MP. But now all the matches are difficult, home and away as well. So it's different to the past few years. And now that Ismaili and military, they have had good starts, they will feel a little greedy now that Al Ahli and the Zamalek have had poor starts. So they will think that maybe this is their year. And if Al Ahli and Zamalek continue their poor results, it will be difficult to come back, because it's a very tough league this season, and they will need to do a lot of work.
In your opinion, how long would that be? Like, how many matches? If there's this poor performance for like 5-10 matches, then it will be difficult to come back.
Yes, but they are performing badly for different reasons. I mean, Al Ahli, they seem to be focusing on the African Champions League. It's taken a lot of work from them. They've traveled to Nigeria at the start of the season. Then they've had the Super Cup match. Then they've traveled to Algeria. So it's a lot of work for them. And they seem to get their players ready mainly for the Champions League. This is the main issue. While on the other hand, for Zamalek, they've had problems with their players. Transfers, rumors about Shikabala maybe, and about the Giddo problem. So this is not helping the team. So they are having poor results for different reasons, we can say. But they need to come back quickly. If this, as you were saying, continues for 6, 7, 8 matches, and Ismaili continue their good form, it may be difficult to come back.
So what happened last season is that Ahli managed to win a number of wins in the first matches, and that got them a very big gap with other teams, and they maintained this gap, and then Zamalek and everybody else tried to close this gap. Today, or this season, things are a little bit different. We don't see that Zamalek or Ahli or Ismaili is running away with points, but again, the teams that are running away with points like Intaj Al Harbi and MP and Ismaili, they're not such teams that are consistent throughout the season. So we've seen Zamalek last year catching up from the 13th place to the 2nd place. So how would you comment on this, mentioning earlier that they might not be able to come back if they continue to play the same way?
Yes, this is the problem, that those teams like Intaj Al Harbi, they don't have depth in their squads. So they can have good starts, but once they start to have injuries, they will not have players on the substitute bench who can replace the good players. So this is the time when Al Ahli and Zamalek they have the depth in squads. They have very good players on the bench. They can rely on those players if they have injuries, they have suspensions. They can do it. So I think this will be the test for the dark horses now. Let's say Intaj Al Harbi, Ismaili, MP. They will